The HOA president didn't knock. She arrived with a deputy and a tow crew like she already owned the outcome. "Remove it," she said, pointing straight at my driveway. "This equipment doesn't belong here." Chains clanged against the concrete before I could even respond. Neighbors started gathering almost instantly, phones already out, whispers spreading fast. The tow operator paused, staring at the forklift like something wasn't right. "Ma'am," he asked carefully, "do you know how much this machine weighs?" She scoffed. "That's irrelevant. Just move it." He checked the paperwork again, hesitated, then swallowed. "According to this permit, it's 25 tons. That was the moment she finally turned to actually look at it. And that's when it hit me. She hadn't ordered it removed because it looked bad. She wanted it gone because it was blocking something bigger. She stepped forward before anyone else could speak. "I'm the HOA president," she said to the deputy, not to me. "This property is out of compliance." She pulled a laminated sheet from her clipboard and held it up like a badge. "Commercial equipment. Visual nuisance. Safety concern. I've already approved enforcement." Approved, not reviewed, not discussed. Approved. She turned back to the tow operator. "You can proceed." He didn't move. His eyes went from the forklift to the permit, then back to her like he was weighing risk instead of steel. Her patience snapped. "Why are you hesitating?" "Because I don't move equipment like this without county confirmation," he said, "especially when it's legally staged." She laughed, sharp, dismissive. "The HOA has final say in this neighborhood." That was the moment it became obvious. This wasn't about rules. It was about control. She finally looked at me. "You were warned," she said, her voice dropping. "This community has standards. You don't get exceptions." I didn't argue, didn't explain the permit, didn't point out that none of her claims actually applied, because it was already clear. She wasn't trying to clean anything up. She was trying to clear something out of her way. And whatever it was, she needed it gone fast. By noon, the first violation notice was taped to my mailbox. Unauthorized industrial equipment. Daily fine pending. No warning. No grace period. Just her signature stamped at the bottom. I peeled it off and looked across the street. She was already filming me on her phone like this was content. No wave. No smile, just zooming in, quietly narrating about safety concerns and children in danger. Words chosen for an audience that didn't exist yet. An hour later, a second notice appeared. This one tucked under my windshield wiper. Same accusation, same threat, bigger number. The tow company came back again. Different truck, bigger chains. The driver took one look at the forklift, shook his head, and stepped back before she could even start yelling. That only made her louder. She marched up to my porch, close enough that I could smell her perfume. "You're refusing compliance," she said. "That gives us options." "Like what?" I asked. She tapped her clipboard. "Escalation. Fines. Liens. We don't need your cooperation." By evening, the neighborhood group chat exploded. Screenshots of my driveway circled in red. Comments stacking fast. Confusion, anger, fear. She replied to every single one. I didn't respond once, because none of this was accidental. None of it was about safety. She was testing how far she could push, and whether I'd move the forklift before she had to explain why she wanted it gone. The next morning, a certified letter arrived. Not a warning, a demand. 48 hours to remove the forklift or face formal enforcement. The wording was clean, polished, legal sounding. Signed by a management company I'd never even dealt with before. At the bottom, a threat disguised as procedure. Failure to comply may result in a lien. She'd escalated. By midday, a property manager showed up with a tablet and a rehearsed smile. He took photos from every angle, tapping notes like I was being documented for removal. "This isn't personal," he said. "The board voted." "Which board?" I asked. He didn't answer. Just kept typing. An hour later, the county non-emergency line called me back. Someone had reported a large industrial hazard creating unsafe conditions. No citation, just a note that the complaint had been logged. That's when I knew this wasn't random. A neighbor passed me by the curb while walking her dog. She didn't stop, didn't look at me. She did this to the Martins, she whispered. Different reason, same pressure. By evening, the HOA portal flagged my account in red. Fines queued, enforcement pending. The system had shifted from suggestion to momentum, and through all of it, the forklift didn't move. That seemed to bother her more than anything, because the harder she pushed, the clearer it became. This wasn't about rules. It was about removing that machine. And whatever she needed access to was close enough now that she'd stop pretending otherwise. I didn't go digging for dirt. I went looking for answers. The permit on my forklift was county issued. Clear, current, specific, so when I pulled public filings tied to my address, I expected everything to match. It didn't. There was a new document attached to the neighborhood parcel map, filed quietly, approved fast, an access agreement I'd never seen before, granting temporary commercial entry through the exact strip of pavement behind my driveway, right where the forklift sat. I followed the trail. One LLC, then another, then a parent company registered 2 towns over. The name hit me. I'd seen it before, on signs along the highway near a new logistics hub under construction. That's when it all clicked. The forklift wasn't the issue. It was the obstacle. If it moved, trucks could pass through. If trucks passed through, the access agreement became active. And if that happened, the HOA would start collecting fees tied to a low 7-figure commercial deal, money that never appeared anywhere in the resident budget. Then an email surfaced. Internal, sloppy, sent too fast. Once the route is clear, compensation to board members can be processed as discussed. No safety language, no aesthetics, just access and payment. I stared at the screen, feeling that cold shift, the moment something petty turns predatory. She hadn't ordered the forklift removed because it broke a rule. She ordered it removed because it was the last thing standing between her and a deal that required silence, speed, and zero resistance. And now she knew I'd seen it, which meant this wasn't about pressure anymore. It was about who would blink first, before the system she built to move me started turning against her. The county inspector didn't raise his voice when he arrived. He didn't need to. He stood at the edge of my driveway, tablet in hand, eyes moving between the forklift and the permit like he was confirming something he already suspected. This staging is compliant, he said finally. The HOA doesn't have authority to order removal. She cut in immediately. That's not accurate. Our bylaws. He held up a finger. Bylaws don't override county permits. The silence that followed felt heavier than the machine itself. She tried again, noise, obstruction, emergency access. Every claim collapsed the moment he asked for documentation. There was none, just screenshots, emails, her clipboard. By the end of the inspection, he logged the complaint as unsubstantiated and added a note about potential interference with permitted operations. That phrase mattered. My attorney called 10 minutes later. I hadn't even sent him the new documents yet. You're not imagining this, he said. If they're pressuring you to move permitted equipment, that's interference. If there's money behind it, it gets ugly fast. That afternoon, the pressure doubled. Another notice appeared in the HOA portal. Marked final. Fines accelerated. Lien review scheduled. The tone had shifted from procedure to threat. Then an email hit my inbox by mistake. Not addressed to me. Not meant for residents. It mentioned timelines, access windows, and one line that dropped my stomach. Delays risked the bonus structure. She hadn't backed off. She decided to outrun the inspector instead. By early evening, the HOA calendar updated without warning. Emergency board meeting. Mandatory attendance. No agenda. No explanation. Just a date, a time, and the quiet understanding that whatever happened in that room would decide everything. I didn't respond to the notice. Instead, I forwarded every document I had to the full homeowner list. Permits, filings, timestamps, the access agreement, and the email about bonuses. No commentary. No accusations. Brenda's legal troubles, however, were far from over. She faced multiple charges: breaking and entering, criminal trespass, unlawful surveillance, and endangerment of a minor, since Leo had been inside the house during the intrusion. Her lawyer attempted to argue diminished capacity caused by her obsession with neighborhood order, but the judge rejected it outright. Between the security footage, evidence of her previous break-ins, and her complete lack of remorse, the case was airtight. The trial lasted 3 days. Brenda took the stand and delivered a 40-minute rambling speech about how she was a hero saving the community from chaos. She compared herself to a neighborhood watch volunteer and accused everyone else of not caring enough. The prosecutor simply played the footage of her photograph in my refrigerator at 2:15 a.m. and rested his case. Leo testified remotely via closed-circuit video. Calm and incredibly brave, he explained how he heard the motion sensor beep, pressed the panic button just like we practiced, and hid in his closet until I told him it was safe. Several jurors visibly frowned when he described the nightmares he had after Brenda followed him home from the bus stop. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours before returning a verdict. Guilty on all counts. During sentencing, the judge made it clear how seriously he viewed her actions, the trauma inflicted on multiple families, the fear caused to a child, and her complete refusal to take responsibility. He sentenced her to 18 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and $15,000 in restitution. When she heard the sentence, Brenda's jaw dropped. She turned to her lawyer and whispered, loud enough for the entire courtroom to hear, "This can't be happening. I have a neighborhood standards committee meeting next week." The judge was not amused. He added a permanent restraining order, banning her from coming within 500 feet of my home or Leo's school. Then came the final blow. She was permanently prohibited from holding any position in any HOA, neighborhood association, or similar organization anywhere in the state. Brenda gasped, gripping the defense table for support, her face turning the same furious shade of red as the non-compliant roses she once fined the Johnsons for planting. "That's enough," the board chair said, standing. "I'm calling a vote to suspend the president pending investigation." Hands went up, one after another. No hesitation. Motion passes. The official gathered his tablet. "We'll be following up with formal notices." She stayed seated, not angry, not defiant, just still, staring at something she could no longer control. The room didn't empty quickly. People stayed, talking quietly, resetting. A few neighbors came over, not dramatic, just quiet nods, a hand on my shoulder. "I'm sorry you went through that. I should have said something sooner." Across the room, she sat alone. No one spoke to her. No one defended her. The authority she walked in with never left that chair. Outside, the air felt lighter. For the first time in days, people weren't staring at my driveway. They were looking at each other. And that's when I realized this wasn't relief from winning. It was relief from pressure finally lifting. The county officials stepped forward again. All enforcement actions tied to that route are suspended immediately. The access agreement, frozen. The LLC payments, flagged. A formal audit, starting within 48 hours. Any funds already moved, under review. The board chair nodded. Until then, all prior approvals by the president are void. "Fines," someone asked. "Canceled." "Liens." "Prohibited." A quiet exhale moved through the room. Then the attorney, already on speaker, confirmed the next steps. Procedures corrected. Safeguards added. No single officer would ever have that kind of control again. Nothing dramatic. Just structure snapping back into place. Across the room, she finally stood, not to argue, just to leave. No one stopped her. The board chair looked at me. "Your permit stands." The forklift stays. No applause followed, just silence, the kind that only comes when a threat is gone. Before anyone left, the board chair added one last item. Effective immediately, no access agreements, commercial routes, or enforcement actions without full board approval, third-party review, and homeowner notice. Heads nodded, slow, unanimous. "What happens to the space behind the driveway?" someone asked. "Nothing," the official said. "It stays as is." That word, stays, settled everything. Phones buzzed with confirmation emails. The portal refreshed. Flags gone. Fines cleared. Account clean. I walked toward the door. People followed, talking again. like neighbors. And in my mind, I could see it clearly. The forklift, still exactly where it had always been. Quiet, permitted, unmoved, not defiance. Proof that authority without rules collapses under its own weight. And sometimes the strongest move isn't pushing back. It's standing still and letting the truth do the moving. In the end, the machine never went anywhere. Only the power that tried to move it did.